Welcome to the Prize Fighting Business. I'm your host, Daniel Casado, and today my guest is professional mixed martial artist and prize fighter, Ty Flores. The Prize Fighting Business is a show that provides you with an inside look into the business of combat sports and prize fighting, as well as insight into how the professionals approach their career. My guest today, Ty Flores, is 6-2 as a professional mixed martial artist. His upcoming fight is this Friday, May the 10th, at the Riverside Casino in St. Louis, Missouri for Shamrock FC. Ty, thank you very much for joining me today.
Yeah, man, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So, Ty, if you could please tell us a little bit about your upcoming fight for Shamrock FC and what you know about your opponent.
So I actually had an opponent change about a week ago. So I was supposed to fight Daniel Vizcaya. He was an Ultimate Fighter vet. Now I'm fighting Eric Murray out of Nebraska. So him and I actually fought on the same LFA card this past June. So he's had a good amount of fights since then, but I think he lost that one to a guy I've trained with before. So a little bit of history, I guess you could say.
How do you feel that you match up with him?
I feel really good. I think he's a little bit more technical on the feet than the last guy I was supposed to fight, but I think it'll be easier to finish. So I'm feeling pretty good about it.
Good. And how can people follow you online and watch the fight?
Flow Combat. So they broadcast everything on Flow Combat. Even on Instagram, I think they post usually like the clips of the fights and everything like that. If there's a good finish, they'll post them on there. But it's a pretty good streaming service. So.
Beautiful. And have you fought for Shamrock FC before?
Yeah. Most of my pro fights, I fought for LFA, RFA when it was still around, and then one of the local St. Louis ones. But most of them with Shamrock. Really good production. Really good promotion to fight for. A lot of eyes on it. So.
Yeah, nationally coverage. That's pretty great.
Yeah.
And so you will be fighting this fight at light heavyweight.
Yeah.
But according to Tapology.com, you're actually the 25th ranked middleweight in the Midwest, as well as the number 6th ranked middleweight in the greater Kansas, Missouri area. So is this your first fight at light heavyweight?
Yeah, my last one was actually supposed to be at light heavyweight, but then they offered me James Boknovic, who was a UFC vet at 185. So I didn't really want to turn that down. That was a pretty good fight. So I took that, but no more cutting to 185. That's way too much for me.
Yeah.
So,
Are you cutting any weight for this fight?
Yeah, no, definitely. I've been walking. So I moved out here in February. I think when I stepped on the scale, I was like 235, 238. So I'm around 220 right now. So it's a nice 15-pound cut. I can knock that out in a day or two. So it'll be pretty easy. A lot less stress on the body than 185. So.
Is that the target as far as making that cut in as little time as possible, like a day or two out?
I'll probably start water loading tomorrow. It's just one of those things where I don't know. I haven't really cut down to 205 before, so it's kind of a learning experience for me. But I don't think it's going to be too difficult. I think packing it all back on is going to be who knows how much I'm going to weigh, So
that's the fun part.
Yeah, right. It's the fun part, but it's like I said, it's all pretty new for me. So I know I can cut this, from wrestling. I can cut this pretty easy, but definitely something you want to do the right way.
Absolutely. So. And how much weight were you cutting when you were fighting at 185?
So when I got the text message to fight Boknovic, I was like 227, 228. So yeah, it wasn't very fun.
That would have been a significant cut.
Yeah, it was really bad. If you watched the fight, it was really sloppy. I won, but like the first 30 seconds, I was just totally gassed from the weight cut. And
really?
Even like the weigh-ins, like I just looked terrible. Like I think when the fight came around, I looked bigger than him. Mm-hmm. But like weigh-ins, it's like we look like we were in different weight classes. I was so much tinier. So yeah, I think 205 is the spot for me.
Okay.
So.
And you mentioned that this opponent, you've seen him fight previously when he was on the same card as you at LFA.
Yeah.
Do you normally watch film on your opponents, like if you were not familiar with his style?
Like a little bit. I think especially at this level, it's like you don't really have to see too much. I know the coaches watch it, but it's like I saw enough to where, I don't think I'm going to have to change up anything too crazy. You know what I mean? It's I don't think he's going to change up too much. He seems like he fights a good amount. He has a ton of fights, amateur fights too. I don't think he's really changed up his style too much. So it's, I've fought guys like him, so not too worried.
Yeah. And do you feel like your style's still evolving, or?
Yeah, no, definitely. I actually recently switched up. I started going southpaw. And
really?
I'm way better southpaw than I am orthodox. So, and when I wrestled off my right leg. So. Then when I was fighting, when I'm orthodox, I learned to wrestle even better off my left leg. So now it's at a point where it's like, I can strike from either stance and I can wrestle from either stance. So it's like I feel like there's bigger problems for him than it is for me.
Yeah, that's true. Just that different look a lefty gives a righty, and you're on that strong leg, at least back from your wrestling days for the shot.
Yeah, no, definitely. And it's going with really, really good guys, too. So it's not like, some of my main guys are Overeem, Curtis Blades, guys like that. So it's like if I can spar those guys, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't really know what these guys are going to have to offer me.
Yeah, that's the highest level of grappling and striking you have available, I'd say, in the UFC, let alone Colorado. So
yeah, no kidding.
Good training partners to have.
Oh, for sure. Super cool guys, too.
Really?
So, yeah.
Do you get to hang out with them outside of training?
A little bit. I know during when Overeem had an opponent change with Olenek, I was one of the big guys to go in there for him.
For the grappling look.
Yeah, because he was, Olenek was going to try and take him down.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we would hang out. We'd go get lunch, eat dinner and stuff. And yeah, he's a super cool guy. Super scary to spar.
I believe it.
You know what I mean? But like, I'd say like a very, very cool dude.
Yeah.
So yeah, very, very nice guy.
Yeah. I bet you've eaten a couple knees in practice.
Nothing too bad. He's definitely thrown them, but I think since I knew he was going to throw them, I was kind of aware of that.
Sure.
Yeah. But nothing too bad though. I was making this joke earlier. I feel worse after wrestling Curtis than I do sparring Overeem.
Okay.
Curtis he's a monster, man.
Yeah, he is.
He's a monster for sure.
Yeah, he's just outside a title shot of his own. So.
Yeah, I mean, if I was Cormier, I probably wouldn't fight Curtis. You know,
right?
I mean, that's a super dangerous fight. I mean, I know he has Stipe next, but it's like, I mean, Curtis is good, man.
Blades will chase him into retirement.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, that last fight, I was kind of hoping he would call him out, maybe, but we'll see. But it's, I think 2019 could be Curtis's year. If
Absolutely.
not, 2020 for sure. You know?
And so for your opponent coming up at Shamrock FC, are you game planning specifically for something he does, or do you make your game plan more around your strengths?
A little bit of both. I mean, there's just certain things that he does that, I think if I do, it'll be better. I've noticed in a lot of his fights that he just gasses. I know this fight for him was short notice. He actually just fought in, I want to say March, I think we saw.
So quick turnaround.
Yeah, but a lot of his fights, I've seen that he gas. And I don't ever gas, especially now that I'm training at altitude. I'm sure that's going to be even better. But it's like, that last fight with Bogdanovic, again, that 30 seconds in, I was pretty gassed from, just the weight cut. But just that mental toughness, that grinding, I was able to grind him out and wrestle him for, 3 whole rounds. So it's, I'm sure the longer that this fight goes, the worse it's going to be for him.
Yeah. You said that you moved to Denver back in February.
Yeah.
Was that prior to your last fight, or was that after?
Yeah. No, that was after my last fight. So I came here and I visited the gym back in September.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know if I'd signed on for Bogdanovic yet. But just to check out the gym, just to make sure it was a good fit and everything, and everybody was super cool. I love the coaching, love the guys. Like the first day I was with Curtis, and I was like, oh, shit, that guy's huge, But he was a super cool dude, good training partner, and I'm like, yeah, like this sounds like a good place to train. And then I moved here. The fight was in November, and I moved here in early February.
Okay, so this will be your first fight actually going from higher altitude to lower altitude in Missouri.
Yeah.
Cool.
I've spent like one weekend in Miami since I moved here, so I don't really work out when I was down there, so I don't really know how it's going to be. I'm assuming it's going to be a good thing, so I'm actually pretty excited. So
cool. Yeah, I'm excited to see it, especially if your cardio is, great when you're training at sea level. It can only be better now, right?
Right. Yeah, no, I can't wait. Just I've been looking forward to it, just to run circles around everybody. So.
How often do you normally fight in a year?
So last year I fought 3 times. I would have fought 4 if I could have, but just scheduling conflicts and whatnot. But I think hopefully I can get a quick turnaround after this one. Excuse me. I know with the last one, actually when I moved here, I had a broken thumb, so I know like scheduling fights was that and training at a new gym. I think it's the perfect time. Just maybe 2 or 3 months just to get familiar with the coaches, the team, all of that. So hopefully can have a quick turnaround after this one, maybe July. So we'll see. So
what does fight camp look like for this fight?
It was a lot of helping other guys at first, because like I said, when I was getting here, like when I came here, Curtis was preparing for his fight against Willis. Dom Reyes was paying for Volkan, and then Overeem, like I said, after that. So those are like the 3 bigger guys. Of course, I helped out Lance Wright. He was supposed to fight this weekend. Other guys like that. But a lot of it was just kind of getting different looks there, kind of getting used to the coaches. But then now, like I said, we were working for Vizcaya, but then he dropped out, so we kind of had to make the adjustments, but, I'm feeling confident about it. So I said we get a lot of different looks, like Dom, Overeem, Curtis, those are three of my main guys. Zach Paga, he's another guy we train with. I might have just butchered his last name, but he's a former NFL guy, good wrestler, great at jiu-jitsu. So it's like you're getting tons of different looks. So it's really kind of prepared for anything.
Yeah, and this is with Team Elevation in Denver, Colorado. They go around the Easton gyms essentially, but a conglomerate of local Colorado fighters. So how did you get in touch with them originally? Or how did you hear about them?
I think I've been wanting to move to Denver for a while. That was kind of the goal, and then I figured Denver would have good gyms, and I started looking up where everybody was training. They got big names there, like, Neil Magny, Curtis, and I don't know if Overeem was even training here when I was here in September. I don't even think Dom was either. But it was just I was there. I really like the coaches. I really like the environment. Everybody's very, very cool. It's you don't always get that. Sometimes it can be a little bit of a hostile environment for training. So no, they were cool guys. And then when I moved out here, I'm like, I didn't even really look at any other gyms because I was like, that's the fit,
Yeah.
And so I really like the guys. So
That's got to feel good.
Yeah, no, for sure. I've definitely trained at some gyms where it's like, we didn't really click too well. So, yeah.
So who's going to be in your corner for this fight as far as coaches?
Sean Madden and Dave Zabriskie. So Sean,
Nice.
Real good Muay Thai. Very, very good.
Director of the U.S. Muay Thai Federation program.
Yeah, actually, I think I just found out today he's going to Thailand. I want to say in July maybe. So he's super good Muay Thai. What I like about him is that, and all the coaches really, they try and make things to your style. You know what I mean? It's like, he's going to help you with the Muay Thai, but it's like if this fight we're going to take the guy down, we're going to take the guy down. And vice versa.
Yeah. Dave
would do the same. And then Dave, Dave's a stud. He was a heavyweight champ for Iowa under Cale Sanderson, so he's just a total monster. You know what I mean? So those two guys, like I said, I think that's a pretty solid corner right there.
Yeah. How do you normally pick your corners?
I guess it depends on the fight. You know what I mean? For this fight, I didn't really think jiu-jitsu was going to play too big of a part, and if it does, I feel very confident with my jiu-jitsu. Even the Vizcaya fight. So I know if it goes to the ground with either of these guys, I feel very confident there. I think for them, they probably wouldn't be looking to take it to the ground, especially Eric Murray. I'm sure he's going to try and want to keep it striking.
Okay.
So I guess it just really depends. It just depends on, what we've been working with, what coach, and what we were planning on. All the coaches seem like they'd be great corners. You know what I mean? There's not a bad. I'm sure it'll change up a little bit. It was actually funny. The first time I heard Cody Donovan talk, I was like, that guy has a voice for a corner. I almost thought
it stands out and you can hear him.
Right. He just is a guy where it's like, even if you don't work with him, I'm sure it's like just having him there just yell at you, like you're going to hear his voice. Elliot, he's a good corner.
You can hear Elliot watching the UFC fights on TV sometimes.
Yeah, right. I know.
Corey's fight last time, you could hear him.
Yeah, no, definitely. It was when Dominic Cruz was like, when he was saying the question that Corey asked, and I was like waiting for him to say what Elliot said. I'm like, I'm sure this is going to be funny. I'm sure Elliot's going to have some funny response for it.
Yeah.
I'm surprised there was not more expletives.
Right. So, what does a normal week of training look like while you're in fight camp?
Just pad sessions when I can fit them in with Sean. A lot of wrestling, a lot of striking. I would say, like with sparring, it's we want to work on the game plan. You know what I mean? Just like certain things. It's a big thing about moving out here. That was a different look. Is that we're not necessarily trying to win rounds. You know what I mean? It's just we're trying to do what we're working on. You know what I mean? So it's if I'm working on a certain combination or a certain type of footwork, it's like maybe from the outside in, and it looks like maybe that guy won the round, but it's like it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? We're kind of working on what we are gearing to do. So it's just everything kind of has a purpose. So it's again, just getting a lot of good looks, a lot of jiu-jitsu, a lot of wrestling, a lot of we do a lot of MMA class too, where it's like this is the purpose where if we get in this position is like here's how we would submit, here's how we would ground and pound, here's how we would do this. So it's just giving you a lot of options, a lot of different looks, and then kind of going with what you want. What I mean? So like today was we were working, like I said, different position. It was like, if you're more grapple heavy, if you want to go for the submission, we can do this. If you're more wrestling heavy and you want to go for the ground and pound, you can do this. So, and it's just exploring different things. Sometimes just picking apart, just picking apart each other's brains on what am I doing wrong, what are this, extra drilling, so.
So situational and skills-based training for the most part?
Definitely. Like today, I had an early morning pad session, and then afterwards I went with Andrew Capel and LT, and we just did some tech sparring. You know, we slowed things down a bit. We weren't going super heavy, but it was just tech sparring. You know, so we kind of see things that are going on, nothing throwing super crazy, and then afterwards, you know, giving each other pointers like, hey, I noticed you were doing this when, you know, on defense, or hey, you know, try doing this when you get the angle like there. So it's just kind of breaking things down, you know, getting ready for sparring tomorrow, so we're not going crazy, killing each other. And that's, you know, it's a great thing about training here. Everybody, like I said, is very, very cool. They want to help. There's no animosity. It's just like, hey, I wanted to work on this. Or after practice, you want to hit a couple takedowns, you know, extra. And it's like, yeah, let's do that. So
yeah, and Andrew Capel and LT Smash are both veterans of MMA too, so good perspectives to get.
Yeah, both studs. You know, I know. I think Eric Murray's a little more Muay Thai style, and I know Capel is as well. And I'd probably give the edge to Capel on that one, you know, for the technique. So he's been a really, really good guy to train with.
Good. Yeah, I know he spent some time in Thailand as well, at least earlier in his career, and he's got a good stand-up base. So.
Yeah, no, very good. And tough guy to take down, and even if you do, super good jiu-jitsu. I think he's like a purple belt or a brown belt, so not an easy role.
So when you're training, are you is this one-on-one with the coach, or is it classes that you're taking?
It could be a little bit of each. You know what I mean? So like Sean will do some pads. You know, on Wednesdays, I'll go up to Boulder. I'll work with Dave. There's a couple guys that'll come up, like Neil was up there last week, but pretty standard. What we'll have is like me, Bo Yan, Drew Dober will go up there. You know, we have some other guys come, like Nate Marquardt came there last week. It was pretty cool to wrestle with him. And that's more, so like Monday is a little more live. You know, obviously we do some technique, but it's, you know, we know we're going to go 20, 30 minutes live. Wednesday, you know, we'll still do a little live if you want to after, but it's kind of more a small group of guys. Dave's there, and it's like, you know, what do we want to work on? What questions do we have? You know, what do we want to do? And that's a little more one-on-one. So it just kind of depends. You know, like on Saturdays with Overeem, we were working, I would come up sometimes, and it would just be Cody running the class, or, you know, it would be Vinny running the class. So it just kind of depends.
Yeah, so very diverse training, though.
Yeah,
as far as skills-based.
Yeah, a lot of different looks. And the good thing I noticed with the gym is I think Elliot's maybe the head coach. I don't know.
he runs the gym at the very least.
Yeah, I know, but it's weird because, you know, like he's not going to be in everybody's corner, but because there's so many different coaches there. But the cool thing is like, I mean, these guys, they'll meet, you know what I mean? They'll meet, they'll talk about things, you know, what should we do for this fight? What should we do for that? You know, should this guy, you know, he's injured. Do we need to pull him out or this? And all the coaches are on the same page, and they're really, really passionate about what they do. So it's very, very competent, and I know I'm in the right spot.
A lot of high-level knowledge in one gym for sure.
Yeah, definitely. So you got to have good leadership. You know, a big thing. I was talking to Drew Dober about it today, was because he's from the Midwest as well, and it's like, man, if I was still back there, those guys would be trying to get me to go down to 185 still, and if, you know, I did that, they'd be trying to get me to go down to 170, and it's like, you know, their mindset is, it doesn't kill you, you're fine. But here, it's like, you know, the coaches are, you know, do we need to pull out? Do we need to take a day off? Do we need to? You know, they're not trying to kill you. They're trying to train smart and intelligent. So,
yeah, it's a good approach.
Yeah, super good approach. So,
what does strength and conditioning look like for you?
So I was going to Landau's. I kind of switched it up a little bit, just to kind of focus just a little more on me. I know they would focus as you got closer to the fight, but it's, you know, I kind of like to do it on my own.
Yeah.
Not on my own, but, you know, so I work with Vinny. I work with him, and it's
at Vital Strength and Performance?
Yeah, and it's also 2 blocks from my house. I mean, I can walk there, so
convenient.
It's a little bit easier, right? So with this one, it was just kind of nothing really too specific. You know, like I feel pretty strong, you know, and I know I have good conditioning right now. But I know afterwards, you know, we're going to kind of have a point where we're going to sit down, and it's, you know, this is what I want to do. This is my goals, you know, and we outline the diet, all of that. Like I know Zach is, he's trying to bulk up. He's going up to heavyweights, and, you know, he's definitely put on some size and some strength. So
goals-based training around the strength and performance for the most part.
No, definitely. And like I said, I mean, I feel pretty good now. You know, that's kind of not taking a backseat, but it's one of those things where I'm more focused on like the technique. You know, I feel good size-wise. I feel good strength. I feel good, you know, speed, all of that. So I feel good. I'm up to shape. It's kind of more just maintaining, not really trying to, you know, hit new heights or anything like that right now. So.
Yeah. Does training look different outside of fight camp?
I don't know, man. I mean, I'm one of those guys where I guess it's a little less specific. You know what I mean? So like Sean and I might work different combinations in fight camp. You know what I mean? I might be more focused on, you know, like this guy, I knew once I hit him, he was probably going to try and take me down. So focus a little more on defense. But I mean, you know, I'm the guy where it's like I'll be back in the gym on Monday. You know, I've just been training. You know, even when back in February, the fight was forever away. It's like I was still, so I'm going to take a little bit of a break after this one because I've been training 2 or 3 times a day nonstop for like 3 or 4 months. So it's, not really too different, to be honest with you. Like I'm always, I want to be the best wrestler, the best striker that I can be, all of that. So I don't really change it up too much, I would say.
So you just customize your schedule each week, each day to your needs and what you feel like you need to improve on, it sounds like.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes.
Again, jiu-jitsu, I'm working a little more wrestling, a little more striking because, I started off as a jiu-jitsu wrestler guy. So it's,
Okay.
Again, before I would go a lot to jiu-jitsu, but now it's, haven't gone quite as often or put as much of an emphasis on there. But, once I fight a jiu-jitsu guy, I'll probably put a little more emphasis on it, so just depends. It's one of those things that's, I don't know. I don't really think that you can train balls to the wall everything for a week, because you're going to overtrain eventually.
Absolutely.
You're going to have to cut something out. So
yeah, big balance you have to find there.
Yeah, or just train smarter, train a little bit lighter on that. So.
It's a good point, though. What does recovery look like for you?
So I've been working that a lot more.
Yeah.
Before it was, before I moved here, it was like I got to train minimum twice a day.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's like, but coming out here, it's taking care. Alistair introduced me to the dry needling.
Yeah.
I work with a guy, Derek McBride, now, and we do a lot of dry needling, cupping. Just being smart, eating a lot healthier. Not that I was eating crazy unhealthy before, but like Denver's a good spot for that, But yeah,
Lots of food choices.
It's one of those things. It's like if you don't take care and you're not recovered, this isn't the gym where it's like. If I overtrain and I come in on a Friday for sparring, it's like, I might be sparring Zach and then Overeem and then Curtis and then Capel. It's like that's not really guys that you want to have a bad day of sparring with, So it's like you want to make sure that like you're taking care of your body. Otherwise, it's if you're not bringing your A game every day, it's like you're gonna pay.
Could be a nightmare.
It could be a nightmare for sure, So
yeah. So you named a few places there, Vital Strength and Performance. You used to work at Landau. So what do your expenses look like coming into a fight, or on a regular basis for training?
For privates, obviously do a little bit more privates as I get closer to the fight. But
yeah,
it's nothing really crazy, pretty cheap there. But it's even if it's a little more expensive, like in the past, it has been a lot more expensive. Especially like with the recovery. But it's one of those things where it's, you're investing back into, like I work in finance on the side, so it's like,
really?
Sometimes, yeah. So it's like when. This week I met with a guy and we were paying off, getting rid of some of his debts, getting rid of some excess, like life insurance, for instance. You're living pretty comfortably right now, so why don't we take that same money that we were just already using and put it back into your assets, put it back into your IRAs, your 401k. So I kind of take the same mindset into fighting. So it's. Yeah, all the money that you save from not going out, not, drinking, doing that, which you shouldn't do, as much since you're a professional athlete, you put it right back into training. It's like you're investing in yourself.
Absolutely. So for you, it's more budgeting and understanding where your money's going. Making sure you're not going out on a Friday night and spending exorbitant amounts of money so that you have that money to be able to spend on privates or recovery or whatever you feel is going to be an investment in your career.
Or it's just something that it's that's just a staple. What I mean? It's like groceries to me. It's like you have to spend money on training. Like when I was in college in Miami, I was super broke. But the two things that I always had was food for my dog and money to put in my car for gas, which didn't actually happen all the time. Sometimes I'd have to run to the gym. But
sure.
It's like that's one of those things where it's like it's kind of just ingrained. It's like I'm not gonna not have money for gym fees. Like that's just that'd be irresponsible.
I love that perspective.
So, no, definitely.
So you mentioned that it could potentially be a little bit more expensive inside of camp because we're looking at privates more, recovery a little bit more.
Yeah.
Any other differences in expenses you generally see between inside and outside of camp?
Not really too much. Like I said, I've been trying to, I moved out to Denver. Like I don't know anybody. Obviously now, meet the team and everything like that. But when I moved out here, I didn't know anybody. And a big reason why I did that was just to kind of isolate myself. Just really get refocused, just focus on training, just work, training, that's all I want to do. So with that, the expenses were kind of down. I wasn't going out, quite as much as I did. Back in St. Louis, I lived in Soulard, and it was like kind of like the bar district. So like if I walked out of my door, I looked to the right, I could see the Anheuser-Busch Brewery. You know, I could walk to my favorite bar or like Lime Scooter there.
That could be trouble.
It was a lot of trouble, man. So like what I did was I would schedule my strength and conditionings on like Saturday mornings at like 6 a.m. or like Sunday mornings. I'm like, all right, that'll make sure I don't go out. But usually what it was is I got 4 hours of sleep. And, you know, I still never missed, but it was like, you know, my performance wasn't always the best. You know? So it's one of those things where I kind of just moved out here. A big thing was to kind of refocus. You know, I think a lot of people back home were kind of confused. You know, I had a good social circle, I had a lot of friends, you know, had a good time, lived in a cool spot. But it's, you know, again, I wanted to move to a bigger gym, wanted to take it a little more serious. Again, not that I wasn't before, but it was just to refocus. You know, like again, it seems to be a little more health conscious city. So again, it's way easier to eat healthy. So, you know, like even in camp, like when I'm starting to cutting weight, it's like my expenses for groceries really aren't that different because I'm trying to eat healthy, you know, even when I'm not cutting weight. You know? Yeah. So
another investment in your career, moving to Colorado, refocusing, and you know, potentially sacrificing social life a little bit, but the ability to, like you said, hone in on your goals and focus.
Yeah, definitely. I've been trying to move out to Denver for a while, you know, trying to move out west. So then the opportunity came, and then I just jumped on it. So so it was good.
Do you utilize any supplements or anything like that?
I mean, protein.
Yeah.
Not really other than that. Protein and I guess Thai oil, you know. I know a lot of guys at the gym use a CBD. I haven't really, I think I use that a little bit, but nothing crazy. But other than that, I mean, not really.
You like the Tiger Balm, the Thai oil.
Yeah, that stuff is a lifesaver. You know, but everybody kind of has their thing. You know, like Curtis was weirdly always talking about beet juice from Whole Foods. I don't know, maybe it helps. But that's the cool thing, though. Like a lot of guys, like when they told me like dry needling with like the electroshock, I thought it was nuts. But then, you know, it definitely helps. So it's kind of just picking and choosing. You know, it's one thing that people here are pretty big about. Everybody kind of has their things that they use. You know, whatever. So you know, as long as it's not, you know, illegal, you know what I mean. So yeah, I'm sure I'll pick up a little bit more as I go on.
Yeah.
So,
and you mentioned that, you mentioned that you have your job on the side in finance. So does that provide you with like health insurance and stuff like that?
Yeah, no, so I can pay for that all on my own.
Awesome.
It's a good job. It's you know, I get to work from home. Since I moved out here, I have to travel a good bit less than what I was supposed to. Most of my business I'll do over the phone, or you know, we'll do in-town stuff.
So it's flexible for training.
Yeah. So I was. Let's see. So it was actually my uncle that started the company. He's like my older brother. He's like 5 years older than me, and he was down in grad school at FIU, which is where I went to undergrad.
Florida International?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we kind of started it, and now we're headquartered in St. Louis. So I was one of the first guys hired onto the company. So, you know, I know I'm still pretty young, but veteran-wise, you know.
How old are you?
Just turned 25. So
nice. Happy birthday.
Thank you. Well, it was December. So I guess it's probably not just. I guess it's 5 months past, almost my half birthday. You know, I'm still kind of in that mindset. But no, so I've been around there for a while. So it's like you get to, you know, I wouldn't say perks, but it's like, you know, I'm good enough to where I can do this stuff over the phone, or maybe not everybody could. I don't have to go and travel a ton. So it's kind of nice to get to work remotely, you know. Yeah. So.
Do you feel like it provides balance for you in life as far as getting you kind of mentally stimulated outside of training mixed martial arts, or do you feel like it's a distraction?
No. I'm somebody where it's like if all I did was fight, I don't think I could do it. You know, if all I did was work, I don't think I could do it. You know, even then, like I'm a big time hunter, so it's like back at home, I would shoot my bow every single day.
Cool.
Now, not as much. Definitely getting into that a little bit more, just getting ready for the season. Like I'm going on a boar hunt here in Florida after the fight, so got to get sharp for that. But that's something where it's like I kind of have to have tons of different things going on. You know, if I was just hunting, I don't really like that. You know what I mean? It's like I have to be training and something else, and you know, like I try and read every day. You know, just to kind of keep stimulated. You know, if I was just somebody that did one thing, like worked a 9 to 5, or you know, like just went to school or whatever, it's like I don't really think that I would like that. You know.
Yeah, a lot of balance.
Yeah, like right. Had to good time management, but you know.
Absolutely.
Definitely for sure.
Do you have any sponsors for this upcoming fight?
Not really. You know, I don't. I always kind of felt like sponsors were a bit of a scam, not to throw everybody under the bus, but like scam for them, you know what I mean? It's one of those things where it's like, I mean, who's really watching, like that's gonna think like, all right, this guy on this show, I'm gonna use this product or whatever. So I always felt like weird asking.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
When it requires a lot of legwork on your end.
Yeah, right. It always, like, I'm not somebody that likes to ask for money, which essentially is what I feel like it would be, you know? So not really, and not to shit on anybody else that has sponsors, but it's just one of those things. Like I see some of the guys back home, and like they'll post with like a product on their Instagram, and it's like I kind of feel like you're whoring yourself out. You know what I mean? Like I had one sponsor at Last Fight, but that was just because it was a friend's their company. They had a kolache business. I don't know if you ever kolaches before, but they're so good.
What is
like
it?
It's like I don't know if I'd call it a pastry, but it's like you fill some. It can be filled with like meat, like sausage and gravy. It's like really, really good for breakfast, right?
Sounds tasty.
And they were so good. He'd always bring them to the office, and like I'm just like, yeah, like don't worry about paying me. Like I have a job. It's like I'm not eating chicken bones for dinner or anything like that. I'll just wear it because I just love kolache so much. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they got some cool free gear. They paid for the shorts and everything. So, but it was cool. They just kind of just help out a friend.
Yeah.
So.
Do you have a manager at this point in your career?
No, but I think definitely after this fight, I'll probably be looking for one.
Yeah.
It's kind of getting close to the next step up. I kind of had an offer from Bellator after my last one. Not an offer, but just they wanted me for a fight. I know LFA comes and goes, and so.
How do you feel about Bellator at this point in your career? 6-2, 8 fights in. What are your thoughts on if Bellator were to offer you a fight?
So the thing with Shamrock is that if you win a title and defend it once, you automatically get a contract for Bellator.
Interesting.
So I know that's an option. So this fight was actually supposed to be for a title, the 85-pound title. So the fight before, even though I told them like a dozen times that I don't want to do 85, they kept saying it was a number one contender fight, which is, I think actually in the cage afterwards they asked me, they asked me something. I was a smart ass, and they were kind of laughing or something. But I think it was kind of anticlimactic. They were looking for me to call out the guy, but
right.
I'm not going down to 85. Like I'll tell you, I've been telling you this, and I'll tell you flat out, I'm gonna die. At that point. So the next fight after this, if I do it with Shamrock, I'm sure he said that this one will be, I guess, a number one contender fight. That's
okay.
I guess he wanted to see how I was gonna do at 205 before he made it a title fight. I guess. So maybe in July, fight Vizcaya for the title. I mean, we'll see. And it's the cool thing there is that it doesn't really seem like they just kind of hand out title fights.
Right.
Like a lot of these promotions, I see guys like, oh, I win this title, but it's like, I mean, they just kind of created that. If you look at the guys that Shamrock has actually had win the titles and signed to Bellator, it's like there's a reason. They're trying to build them up, and they are actually deserving of it. So it's a huge compliment. So maybe we'll see. Bellator's not the goal. Obviously, the goal has got to be the UFC. So we'll see. Was kind of hoping I could fight before to get on that contender series, but I saw they have like 15 or so spots still. So maybe if I get a good finish after this one, we'll see. Or if somebody pulls out. So there's a couple 205ers on there, so I'll be ready.
Yeah. You feel like you're ready for that next step, the UFC?
Yeah. I know at least the contender series, and I know a lot of guys that I've trained with that are in there. They're kind of getting that call, and it's like I've trained with you. I know how we were in the training room.
Right.
You know what I mean? I know how I am. You know what I mean? So
it's got to give you confidence training with people like you said, Alistair Overeem,
right.
Andrew Capel, Curtis Blades. I mean, those gentlemen are doing great in the UFC. It's got to give you confidence at least that you're at that level.
And there are even some guys, like we were talking the other day. There's some guys that are like, they're scared to go with Overeem, or they're. They don't want to wrestle Curtis, or they'll see. It's shitty to do to Curtis. It's one of those things where he's a big, strong dude, but it's I can understand sometimes where maybe he's like, why am I going to come if none of the big guys are going to be there, nobody really wants to go, and it's like, the other day my wrestling's gotten so much better going with him, and I think like I'm cutting weight right now, so I'm like 220. I think he's like 280, so there's like a 60-pound difference, but when I'm wrestling him, it's like if I'm chaining things together, maybe I only get a takedown in a round, but it's like had that been anybody else, it would have been a lot more. So it's like I was telling him, it's like I'm benching 300 pounds preparing to bench 200 pounds. You know what I mean?
Right. Absolutely.
So it's working with guys like that. It's that makes my confidence soar. And it's one of those things where it's like I don't avoid that. If they ask me to spar Overeem, it's like hell yeah, I'll spar Overeem.
Yeah.
Or wrestling with Curtis, it's like let's get in some extra rounds. Yeah, you might fuck me up for a round, but it's like it's good for me. I've noticed I'm getting better. Like you have to kind of go through that wood chipper to get there. So it's just again going with those guys. It's at the end of the day, if I stand and strike with him, he's not going to be Overeem. If I wrestle with him, he's not going to be Curtis. So it's just I've been getting a lot better. And I told Curtis the other day, it was one of those. It was a respectful way, and it was like, hey man, like I'm going to be. And I've been getting a little more competitive with him, but I said I'm going to be more competitive with you. Like I don't. I know that obviously people are always going to give you the edge for sure. Like, you're a stud wrestler, but it's like I'm going to get to the point where, like, that's my goal.
That's the attitude to have.
Yeah, like
Absolutely.
I'm gonna be the guy where it's like you're gonna be a lot more worried about my takedowns, in the future. Not, again, it's not like it's a total wash. Like, he just runs me over.
Right.
We'll be competitive, but it's I'm definitely getting better.
Well, like you said, the size difference that just requires you to do things like chain together the takedowns, which you don't. There's a lot of wrestling in the UFC where you're not seeing them chained together, and that a lot of times is the difference between getting that takedown and not.
Yeah.
So practicing with a guy that's bigger like Blades and having the need to do that hopefully translates to a fight, and you're just that much cleaner with the technique.
Yeah, if I could take him down against the cage, or sometimes when I can't take him down against the cage, you know what I mean? It's one of those things where, but you're also 60 pounds heavier than me,
right?
And it does suck sometimes, but it's, you got to think it's like, man, he's just manhandled just about everybody that he's fought.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like if a big-ass Justin Willis can't get up,
right?
You know what I mean? It's like I'm smaller than that guy too. So it's like, you got to...
He was controlling Nagano in the first fight for, 3 rounds of the fight whenever he took it down.
That annoys me so much. And Nagano just has that power. I think the first fight was like a doctor stoppage.
Yeah, it was just a swollen eye for Blades.
I mean, Curtis is so big and strong.
So
I really think that he just totally wins that next fight. I know it'd be the third time, but it's like, I mean, he's so good. I don't think Ngannou just has anything for him. Ngannou just kind of has that power. If he catches you, even if he clips you, like you've seen, it's just he kind of has that. I don't really think anybody else has that. You know what I mean? People hit hard, but it's like he's a guy where if he just clips you, it's like people go out. So it's. But I think Curtis is a much better fighter. You know what I mean? He also hits like a truck too,
and more well-rounded.
Way more well-rounded. So
yeah. So take me back. So how did you first get started into MMA and find that passion?
So I was actually a soccer player, and I was planning to play college soccer. Decided not really to pursue it. Just my head wasn't in it. Soccer's fun. It's cool. Can't really stand watching it. Even when I played, I was pretty, I don't want to say aggressive, but probably aggressive. I got a lot of reds and yellows. And I mean, soccer players are also just pretty whiny. So then I had wrestled for a bit in high school, and I wasn't bad, just for the lack of experience that I had. But, I was doing pretty well. And then I stopped wrestling just to focus on soccer, which in hindsight probably shouldn't have done. But then it was weird. I was supposed to go off to school, and it was going to be the first time in my life I wasn't really an athlete. So I kind of it was an ego thing, kind of a loss of identity, So I wanted to do something. So I think I started doing primarily jiu-jitsu, and then a little bit of wrestling base. I was good, and then just ever from there I was competitive, wanted to compete, and then just took it from there. I was hooked. So.
Do you feel like that base helps you with the cardio? I mean, essentially soccer, you're running all the time in practice, wrestling, running all the time.
I mean, maybe a little bit, but I mean, it was just so long ago, I mean, just ever since then, I just haven't really stopped. You know what I mean? I'm just somebody that if I don't lift weights for 2 weeks, I mean, that's just like a lifetime for me, So it's like I've grown a ton, like I was talking today in high school, I wrestled at 171, probably should have wrestled at 65, 63, whatever it was. And now I'm walking at like 230. So I've grown a ton, I've been eating healthier, eating more, staying active, and you see a lot of my friends and guys in high school that were, more star athletes or whatever, and it's kind of like looking at them now, and it's like, you kind of let yourself go, but it's just been nonstop for me, it's just, just tons, everything's been on fighting, I had 10 or 12 amateur fights, and now this will be my 9th pro fight, so just the whole focus has just been on fighting, so it's,
So you're 25 years old, you go to college, you start doing jiu-jitsu and grappling, you have about 20 fights over a 7-year period or so. When did you take your first fight? After how long of training, you think?
Probably only like 4 months. I actually lost my first amateur fight by decision, and then I won my next 9.
Wow.
Yeah, and then I won 2 kickboxing fights, then won my first 2 pros. It was actually funny. So then my third pro fight, so my second one was with RFA, and then my third one, I mean, that year I'd had the 2 kickboxing fights. I think I'd finished both of them. And then 2 pro fights, was doing well. Like my pro debut was against, it kind of annoys me a lot. On one hand, I kind of wish I hadn't fought the guys I had fought so early in my career, but, you see a lot of these guys, like, you look them up on the Contender Series and they've just fought bums, and like my pro debut was against national champion wrestler, NAIA. So I was able to take it to him, won. Second one was against a veteran on RFA. I won that one, which also armbarred the guy. The ref didn't call it, ended up winning decision, but I was like, whatever, guy on top. It was interesting. But then I lost my third and my fourth. So I had the third one I fought Jeff Neal, and he's in the UFC now.
That's right.
Yeah, and he's a stud. We're cool. Friends on Facebook. I love seeing him do well. Always liking each other's stuff, and happy for him, man. He's doing really, really well. Not a bad guy to lose to at all. Then I had like almost a 2-year layoff when I lived in Miami. Just wasn't at really the right gym, I don't think. They were just doing a funky ass style, like capoeira shit. That just doesn't work. It's a solid gym. They got guys in the UFC. It's good and very, very good jiu-jitsu. It's just not really the style or the training.
Wasn't a good fit for you.
Not at all. Not at all. A lot of Brazilians down there, and they were kind of more gravitated towards them. You know what I mean? So we kind of got left out in the dark. Then I lost the fight coming back to a guy that I just should not have lost to. But then after that, kind of lit a fire, and then I'm on the win streak after that. So.
Yeah, so 4 wins in a row, 3 by submission, all rear naked choke.
Yeah, so those are, that's just what they gave me. You know what I mean? It's just that when you're getting hit from the top, usually you turn your back, and then every time, I'm going to sink in that choke.
So what would you attribute the consistency in your success since these 2 losses and the 4 in a row to?
Just being at a better gym, honestly, and just getting the fights. You know what I mean? I don't worry about the small stuff at this level. Like, it always kind of puzzles me when there will be there's guys on the regional level worrying about how much they're making, and it's like, I don't care. You know what I mean? Because this isn't, you're going to make 1,000 versus 2,000 in the long run. Is it really that much money? So I'm just focusing on the fights and focusing on getting better and leveling up. That's just my focus is there. I don't care about how many Instagram followers I have. How often I'm posting, who I'm posting a picture with. Or any of the small stuff like that. I'm just focusing on taking the right fights, good fights. I don't want to be the guy that's only fought tomato cans, and then when you get to the good, to the big show, then you fight somebody good, and you just kind of lose easy. So taking smart fights, again, not fighting a killer like Jeff Neal on your third pro fight. You know what I mean?
But good experience at the same time.
No, for sure. It just showed me I just wasn't at that experience level. So I think after that fight, or maybe we had one more fight after that, you got the call to the Contender Series. You know what I mean? So it's just, again, just a learning experience. I don't think it's bad to lose before you get in the UFC. You know what I mean? It's like, have those losses, rebound from it, because it's, you lose in the UFC, it's like, your next fight's going to be a killer too. So it's, you have those losses, and now it's, I don't really see too many people on this level that are going to take it to me. So.
Yeah, I think it's a great mentality to have.
Yeah, no, definitely.
What would you say the biggest challenge of your career up to this point has been?
Coming back after those 2 losses, like I said, I'm a smart guy. I know I am. I have a good job outside of fighting. And they were both knockout losses too. One was a little bit to the back of the head, kind of questionable, but I was out for sure. He was a better man, not making excuses.
Just goes black when you get hit in the back of the head.
And hats off to him. He won that night. But again, my mentality after that, everybody was trying to get me to stop. Then it sucked because the fight after that I won, but my kneecap, it was a reoccurring issue that I had. My kneecap would just completely slide to the side of my knee. It's like a split second, just like excruciating pain. So what happened twice in that fight, I still finished the guy like halfway through the second round with the rear naked. Again, that was just one where I got a lot of fans from that one, because after they found out what happened, that was a tough thing to do. A lot of guys would look for a way out. So I had to get knee surgery. So then again, people were just kind of like, what are you doing here? And again, like I said, I have a good job outside of this. It always kind of did confuse me when I trained with some guys that are like, the only way I have to go is up, and I'm like, well, then what's glorious about what you're doing? What's it's like my job is like, I work a very good job, I make good money. It's like I would do a lot better also if I didn't do fighting.
But this is your passion.
Yeah, this is my passion. Like, that's what I'm going to give up. It's like, I can make more money. I could be a little more of that white collar gig, a little more, I guess, traditional. You don't have to tell people you fight, you know what I mean? Get those weird looks. But so I give that up, you know what I mean? It's like I don't have to do this. Like, I think, a more dangerous thing. It's not something I have to do or it was my only way out of anything. Like, this is what I want to do. So, I mean, that mentality, like I said, it sucks, man. I mean, that fight with my knee happened. It's like I had not a lot of friends and family at that fight, and it sucked. You know what I mean? It was, but one of those things, like, that's what I want to do. You know, I think my biggest advantage, I'm just very mentally tough. You know, you're just not going to break me. And, like, that's what I want to do, you know? So I had knee surgery after that. That was, like, the beginning of November of 2017. I told the doctors I wanted to fight by May, and they said I was crazy. I hit recovery like a madman. I was training by, like, end of January, and I fought in May. I finished the guy in, like, 2 minutes, and I fought for LFA. I fought the guy was, like, undefeated. He was a hometown guy. Finished him in the second round, and then after that, you know, I fought in November. So it's like the doctors are still just kind of like, hey, you're not supposed to do that. You know what I mean? But I mean, my knee's good. It's totally fine. So it's just one of those things where it's just, that's what I want to do, and, you know, sucks if you're in the way.
What do you tell friends and family when they ask you, why are you doing this?
They don't really do it so much anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
they've given up.
Yeah, they've given up. And it's like with my job, I still do a really good job. So
right.
It's like I make it kind of like like somebody's always going to take it from me. I know that there are always going to be people waiting for that next loss. You know what I mean? Just to be like, hey, you know, are you sure you want to? It's like, no, this is what I want to do. So,
and that drives you even more.
Yeah, that drives me for work. You know, that drives me for, you know, for fighting, obviously. And then, you know, like hunting, you know, I always want to be the best hunter that I can be. Yeah. Eventually, you know, I want to start doing a little outdoor riding. But it's just now it's like I need a little more experience. So it's, you know, if I have to go to the bow range, you know, if I have to get up at the crack of dawn, you know, to do that with work and training, then that's what I have to do. So it's everything I kind of do. I just try to do 100%. You know what I mean? So it's just, I don't really think that people can argue with the passion.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's just
fair enough.
That's just not really something they can argue with. It's, I'll prove to them that this is what I want to do, and I'll put in the work, and what can they really say?
Yeah.
So,
have you found a bow range around here that you utilize?
Yeah, I've used a couple. Like I said, I was just so focused on the gym, all of this,
sure.
and I didn't have any hunts coming up. But it's I use a couple different ones. The one I've been using lately is down in the Highlands Ranch. But it's different, man. Like in Missouri, there's so many ranges, and they're all free. You know, these are, you know, I'll pay for it, but it's just weird that it's, before it was just, hey, you know, talk to a buddy, you know, for lunch, you want to go meet at the, you know, meet at the range. We'll go here, you know, spend a whole Saturday there. So yeah, I mean, it's I found some other ones, so it's cool. But that was actually a big reason why I wanted to move out west. I wanted to hunt the mountains, so I know that I don't care what fight offers I get. The first 2 weeks of September, I'm going to be out there. I'm not coming out till I get a big bull elk. Like,
absolutely,
that's my goal.
Are you going bow hunting for the elk?
Yeah,
cool.
You know, I have
very
guns.
cool.
I like gun hunting. You know, it's fun for sure, but it's just bow hunting is one of those things where it's, I mean, it's so much harder. It's so much tougher. You know, I've had to crawl on my hands and knees for like 100 yards to get near an animal, and sometimes, you know, you spook it, and it's it's a learning experience though. But it's something that it's just so hard. Yeah, it's one of the hardest things I've ever done.
Yep, I got a bow recently a couple years ago, so I've been shooting it. I haven't gone hunting with it yet. But,
yeah,
that's
that's not a bad thing though. You want to make sure that you're,
right.
You know, you always want to be able to put the animal down. You know, like it's, you don't ever want to feel like a jerk. You know,
yeah.
I've hit animals where, you know, I thought I hit them good, but it's just we weren't able to find them, and you just kind of feel like a giant asshole.
Yep.
You know, and you don't want to hurt an animal.
Yep.
You want to, if you're going to take a life, you want to take a life, and you want it to be quick. So,
yeah,
so definitely.
So back at the beginning of your career, when you first started out, you were doing it for structure, to get back into something athletic.
Yeah.
Have a kind of pursuit of passion. What would you say your goals were back then when you first started your career? What did you envision?
I don't really know. It was just to get good. I guess eventually turn pro.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and eventually I did. You know, training with the pro. It was kind of cool. You know, it's a, you know, like back when I turned pro, people would ask, you know, how did you know that you wanted to turn pro? And I was like, well, one of the pro guys that I was training with, I was doing really good against them. So I figured it was time to make the jump. And now I'm kind of at the point where it's like, you know, all right, you know, I'm training with guys in the UFC, and it's like I'm doing really well against them, right? So it's like, you know, obviously hopefully be the next big jump, but I'm also not in a huge hurry to get there. You know, I don't want to be a guy that just, you know, we were actually talking about that today. You know, Cody Donovan was talking, and he was saying that all I wanted to do was make it to the UFC. That's all I wanted to do, and then I did. I didn't really think about what I would do once I made it there, and that happens a lot back home. You know, that was a big reason moving out here was Other than a couple guys, I mean, most of the guys back home, like, yeah, there are gyms that are good enough to where you can make it to the UFC, but not necessarily stay. Or
Sure.
maybe that's just their mentality, you know?
I think that's a lot of fighters' mentalities. Get to the big show and they haven't thought much further than that.
Right. They just wanted to get there to say they were in the UFC,
Sure.
to do whatever, and it's like, that's not really what I'm about. So it's, on one hand, it can be frustrating. You see some guys that maybe get signed that you've trained with, or they get on that contender series, and it's like, I know that I smashed that guy.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, it's like, are they ready? I'm not really worried about them, but it's like, it kind of makes you look back at your own self, again, maybe I get signed this year, maybe I don't, but it's one of those things. If you don't, that's just extra time that you get to work where, you get to hone on your own skills. It's one of those things. I'm not in a crazy big hurry. I'll get there when I get there. I'll get there when I'm ready. So
yeah, don't rush the journey.
Right.
And it sounds like, in my opinion, you do a good job, at least, of gauging your skills and your ability levels with the people you practice with as opposed to the people you're fighting against.
Yeah, I think about that. Not in like an egotistical way.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like, I'll talk about if I can get down Curtis, but don't get me wrong, Curtis takes me down way.
Sure.
You know what I mean? It's kind of like, I told Dave, I took down Curtis today. It was once, but like I got him down, you know what I mean? It was one of those, but it's not in like an ego way kind of
right.
thing. Like, people always talk like in jiu-jitsu, there's no egos in jiu-jitsu. Well, first of all, that's not true. Like, everybody has egos. The second thing, it's not a bad thing to compare yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think, and that's the cool thing about this gym is that I think people kind of get that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's like, one day, like there was one day I was doing really, really good against Dom Reyes. I had a great round. I was really, really happy. But then that was a Tuesday, and then like that Friday, he had a really, really good round, and he was beating me up. You know what I mean? So it was one of those things where it's, you got to use a good measuring stick, but you never want to get too egotistical with it. You don't want to be a jerk about it. I don't ever brag like, hey, like I did this to this guy, but it's a good like, I was able to control this round or do this, and it's kind of a testament to you improving. Like, you want to level up, but you do have to kind of compare yourself.
Yeah, good benchmarks for yourself to kind of see where your progression is.
Definitely. It's like never in an egotistical way, but it's just, you have to measure yourself somehow, or else how do you know you're going to get better?
Yeah.
So.
What would you say your goals are right now for your career?
I mean, just keep winning. You know what I mean? I mean, just get the win. Obviously, you want to make it to the next show, but the big show. But I don't want to rush it there. You know what I mean? It's, once you get there, that's serious. You know what I mean? Like, that's every fight. It's like you could be fighting for your spot. Your spot on the roster. So again, just kind of honing my skills, just getting better at everything, which I kind of do already. It comes and it goes. Like it comes in waves. I really want to work on my wrestling, or then I really want to work on my striking. So, like I said, the new thing with going southpaw, I feel really, really good about it. I feel so much better than I did orthodox. I feel way more athletic, balanced. So still improve on that, and it's like I noticed, it's like, wow, like I'm going southpaw and I'm doing really good winning rounds against some guys maybe that are, on that next level. And it's like, that's crazy to think of what I'm going to be at in 6 months, considering I only really started going southpaw 3 months ago.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's just getting better overall, and then just getting used to the team, all of that. Like, I'm still pretty new, so.
Yeah, and this weekend will be a perfect test for going southpaw, for the new team, for high altitude to low altitude. Lots of stuff to see that'll be interesting with this fight coming up.
Yeah, no, I'm super excited, and I'm very, very confident. Like I said,
Good.
I don't have any, there's no worries about it, you know what I mean? I know that, again, I don't really think he's going to have too much for me. Like I said, he's not going to really, there's going to be nothing that I haven't really seen before, you know what I mean? So I'm definitely prepared for anything that he's going to throw at me.
Awesome.
So,
I'm excited for you.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Good.
So.
What about any tip for a young aspiring fighter? What have you found in your career that's worked well for you that you think others would do well by?
I mean, just one tip, that'd be tough. I mean, like I said, don't worry about your spot on the card. Just have a good fight. Just win. I think that'd be the big thing. Just win. You know what I mean? Don't worry. If they're yelling at you for laying and praying, don't go up and have a firefight when you shouldn't, strike with the guy. Like me, when I fought Jeff, I was trying to strike with him. It's like, I would have won on the ground. Why did I do that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Don't worry about your spot on the card. If you're younger, kind of at my level, again, I see a lot of guys worry about what they're getting paid, and it's like, who cares? Just take the fights, get as much experience as possible. If you're an amateur, I mean, I don't see you should be fighting every single month.
Yeah, build the resume.
Or do something. I mean, do a jiu-jitsu tournament, do a kickboxing fight. I mean, if you lose, you lose. Who cares? It all goes away. I mean, get just absolutely as much experience as you possibly can, I'd say that would be the biggest thing, just the experience. You know, I mean, obviously you're going to train to get better, but you know, nothing compares to cage time, or in wrestling they call it mat time. You know,
Yeah.
you go out there and you're going to kill that dude, but that's still mat time that you're going to get. So
Yeah, that's great advice.
yeah, definitely.
So how can people follow you online? Instagram, Facebook?
Instagram at Roll Tide with 3 Y's. It's a little play on words, you know, Roll Tide. But yeah, I say with that there, post all the updates and everything like that. So yeah.
Cool. Well, good luck this weekend at Shamrock FC. And for our viewers, they can watch that on Flow Combat, flowcombat.com, or you can go to the Riverside Casino in St. Louis, Missouri, and see Ty live.
Definitely.
And we'll actually have you sign that, if you don't mind, before you leave.
Okay.
Sign that banner behind you.
Yeah, for sure.
And thanks to our fans and viewers for watching and listening to the show. Don't forget to subscribe to the DA Media YouTube channel. Follow us on Instagram at PrizeFightBiz. Check out the website at theprizefightingbusiness.com. Thanks for listening.